ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य आणीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासि अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। Om. May my speech be accorded with the mind. May my mind be accorded with the speech. O self-effulgent one Brahman, reveal thyself to me. May you both, speech and mind, be the carriers of the highest truth to me. May not all that I have heard depart from me. May I be able to join day and night through this study with Brahman. I shall utter what is verbally true. I shall utter what is mentally true. May that Brahman protect me. May that Brahman protect the teacher. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto you all. Good morning. This morning I am going to speak on another very important subject in our spiritual life, and that is bondage and freedom. Freedom, especially in Indian philosophy, is well discussed subject, but it is very difficult to understand what is freedom. Theoretically, we know that yes, what is freedom mentioned in the scripture, but it is very difficult to understand what is right freedom. Most of us, we consider that eating, drinking, merrymaking is a kind of freedom. If we have money, if our health is strong, then we can do anything and everything because we have the freedom. Animal, they think that if they are released and they can eat, move freely, they are free and they are happy. But if you allow a human being in that way and allow him or her to move carefree status and give money, no problem of wealth, so go ahead, whatever you want you can do. Human being cannot do that. If we are completely free, still a kind of archetype feeling of bondage will always be there in our mind. We do not feel completely free. some they think that okay, this is the right process of getting freedom, and in that process they enter into more bondage in that way. When I was young, I was not allowed to go outside in the night, means after evening. And my grandma was controlling my discipline, etc., very strict. So I thought at that time that when I would become elderly and I go outside, that was the concept of my freedom at that time, that when I can go freely outside in the evening, that was my concept of freedom. So the concept of freedom also changes. And if we think that human being actually cannot have the full feeling, the fullest feeling of freedom because of some archetype existential feeling inside that we are not free. We think that, the CEO of Tesla is the most happiest and free person in this world because he has money, he has freedom, whatever he wants, he can do. But an archetype feeling, existential feeling, always be there in all human beings. That says we are not free, we do not enjoy this kind of freedom. It is always said that, unlike animal. Actually, bondage is not the problem, but unknowingly we do something which causes more bondage and suffering. That is the problem. If we are in bondage and we keep a considerable balanced life, okay, that is good. But to become free, to fulfill our desire, we enter into the more bondage in the name of freedom. To understand what is freedom and what is bondage, Bhagavad Gita very clearly says in chapter 18. In chapter 18, verse number 30, Bhagavad Gita says, Pravrittingcha nivrittingcha karja akarja bhaya abhaya bandhyam moksham cha yavetti buddhisa partha swatiki. Sri Krishna is advising that, O Partha, you can understand in a clear way which is moral, which is immoral. Pravrittingcha, nivrittingcha. Which is pravritti, which is nivritti. Means which is moral, worldliness, what is immoral. What is worldly things, what is renunciation. Then karja, akarja. You can understand which is real work or what is non-work, immoral work. And bhaya, abhaya. What is fear, what is fearlessness. And what is bandhyam, moksham. What is bondage, what is freedom. You can understand with that intellect which is called Sattvika Buddhi. Only by Sattvika Buddhi, there are three qualities in human being. One is Sattvika, one is Rajasika, and one is Tamasika. And the whole Bhagavad Gita actually teaches us to balance these three qualities. These three qualities are in the universe, and these three qualities are in individual. So the equilibrium state of these three qualities is the ideal state. When one is predominant, then we are tend to do accordingly. So when tamasic is predominant, we become angry. We behave like an animal. When rajasic is predominant, we only say this is me and mine. And when Sattvika is predominant, we try to maintain our spiritual life or this kind of thing. Why we don't like to come every day in the temple? Because some days our mind says, no, today my priority of work is this. So that means on that particular time, your mind is predominant by some tamasic or rajasic quality, not the sattvic quality. When you feel coming in this temple or any church or temple, then your sattvika quality is predominant, functioning in your mind. So, which is Sattvika Buddhi? We want to maintain the Sattvika status or Sattvika state of mind always. The highest mind, ideal mind is equilibrium state of mind. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna very clearly says that the Sthita Prajna, that is the person, man of steady wisdom, that is the person who can maintain the equilibrium state of mind. That is the ideal, and he explained what is the quality of that person. So if a person maintains equilibrium state of mind, what he or she manifests, what is the quality he or she acquires. So he clearly explained it in chapter 2. And here also he said, if you cannot do that, from tamasika state of mind, most of us, we have the tamasic state of mind. So from tamasic, we have to evolve to rajasic state of mind, and then from rajasic state of mind, we have to evolve the sattvika state of mind. So here, the highest is sattvika state. So if we have the sattvika buddhi, sattvika intellect, then we can understand what is pravritti, what is worldliness, what is non-worldliness. So we acquire the discriminative faculty at that point of time. So then we can understand what is pravritti, what is nivritti, what is karya, what is akarya, means immoral work, the moral work. What is bhaya, what is abhaya, what is fear, what is fearlessness, and what is bandhya, what is a bondage, what is moksha, what is freedom. Then we can understand if we have that sattvika kind of buddhi. And Sri Ramakrishna, in his lucid language, he clearly says there are few types of human being, means few types of attitude they have. And he gave the example of fish. He says, suppose a net has been cast into a lake to catch fish. Some fish are so clever that they are never caught in the net. They are like ever free. Few people are there, like Swami Vivekananda, like Buddha. They are the net of Mahamaya cannot bring them under control. So they are ever free. But most of the fishes are entangled in the net, like ordinary people. Some of them try to free themselves from it, and they are like those who seek liberation. So it is a kind of, you see, the monk, they are caught in the net of Mahamaya, but they are trying their level best to get out of it. So these are few people. But not all fish that struggle succeeded. So they try, but not all fish can come out. Some are all entangled. A very few do jump out of the net, making a big splash in the water. Only few. Then the fishermen shout, "Look, there goes a big one." But most of the fish caught in the net cannot escape, nor do they make any effort to get out. That is another problem. Because they cannot understand that what is bondage, what is freedom. If one cannot get the taste of freedom, why they will try to get out of that? On the contrary, they burrow into the mud with the net in their mouth and lie there quietly, thinking, "We need not fear anymore, we are quite safe here." But the poor things do not know that the fishermen will drag them out with the net. These are like a man bound to the world. So we think that we are happy, I have money, I have some security, and I am free. I can make a trip. I can go here and there, Alaska, Hawaii, Miami. I am free totally, I have money. I can go anywhere and everywhere. So I am free, I am happy there. So these are like that, these kind of fish. They are caught, but they cannot understand. They try to hold that net and think that, okay, I am free. However, so to understand this freedom and bondage is very important. And what do you think? There is a similarities between the worldly people and those who are seeking the Nivritti path. In Katha Upanishad it is clearly said, you see, there are two paths in front of you. One is Pravritti, one is Nivritti. Select one and do accordingly. It is very clear. Yama said, Nachiketa. Very clear. So this is one, the path of worldliness, and this is the path of spirituality. Select one and happy with that. Don't go with, stepping in two sides. You cannot balance it. However, this is also a kind of, yes, I am attending lecture and I am going to the church every Sunday sincerely, so I am free, I am safe. I am sorry to say, it cannot remove our bondage. It cannot give us real freedom. So, and we cannot get the taste of real freedom. That is the important. If we have the taste of something, the father, it is also Sri Ramakrishna's story, the father said to his son that, "Why are you drinking so much? Please leave it. Get rid of this habit, bad habit." Then son said to his father, "Yes, in 1 second I shall get rid of that. But in one condition." What is the condition? You have to drink a little wine, you have to drink a little bit. Father said, "It is very simple thing. If I take a little bit, then my son, who is completely addicted, he will completely leave the habit of drinking. Okay, for the sake of that, I shall take. And then what happened? Actually, the son, he got rid of the drinking habit, but father became addicted. So unless you get the taste of freedom, you cannot try to get out of the bondage. That is the most important thing. And struggle of freedom is seen both in spiritual man and the worldly man. But whereas the spiritual man seeks ultimate liberation, the worldly man seeks freedom to enjoy the life. This is the difference. Both are seeking freedom. But the goal, the spiritual man seek freedom to get rid of their spiritual bondage. But the worldly man, they seek freedom to enjoy the world. This is the difference. However, the point is that another very important point why we need freedom is this. God is commonly described as the embodiment of perfection, beauty, love, and happiness. But then, why is it so difficult to realize Him? The answer is lack of freedom. It is very simple that God is good, beauty, everything. And it is holiness, it is divine, it is love. But how cannot we realize? Because we do not have freedom. So we came to know from this aspect that first, unless we have some kind of taste or some kind of experience of freedom, it is very difficult to seek or to try to get freedom or to get out of bondage. There is a Chinese story which explains it wonderfully. A Chinese prisoner who had been sentenced to life imprisonment. After 60 years, when he was released on the coronation of a new emperor, the man found that prospect of living free in the world is intolerable. He therefore begged the jail authorities to let him spend the remaining part of his life in the imprisonment. So he was not familiar with the outside world, because 60 years he was in the jail. So when they allowed him to go out and enjoy the world, he found that it is impossible for him. So he found that it is secured and good way to spend the rest of his life into the jail. So this is habit. If we think this world as we are spending our life is secured, is fine, why should we seek freedom? We do not seek freedom because we think we are fine. Only when we are challenged, we feel this life, the way we are living is intolerable, then only we try to get out of it. Otherwise not. So we have to feel the taste of freedom. And how can we feel it? How can we taste it? The important thing is that to introduce an element of freedom in our day-to-day life. So this is very important to get the taste of freedom. we have to incorporate our freedom, some elements of freedom in our life. So from this perspective, there are two types of freedom. One, the ultimate freedom, and then second is day-to-day freedom. So how can we introduce? So we are in that kind of fish, those who are holding the net and thinking that, okay, we are safe. So for us, we have to introduce some component of freedom into our day-to-day life. Otherwise, we cannot feel the importance of freedom. What is the freedom? What is the peaceful state of freedom? I give this example always, So what is the time when we are most peaceful in our daily life? What is the time when we are 100% peaceful? And that is the time when we sleep. That is why sleep is so important. And what is the state of our sleep? We are completely free. Free from all external things. We do not have any thought. We are not attached with any kind of things. We are completely blank. And that is, deep sleep is the best time in 24 hours when we are peaceful to the highest degree. So see, the peace, generally we say that we have everything I have, but I don't have serene peace in my heart. So the condition of serene peace is this: we have to get rid of all kind of attachment, and you will feel serene peace. And that taste of peace is amazing. So similarly, the freedom, if we have the taste of freedom, that is amazing. So how can we incorporate few components of our freedom into our day-to-day life? The first condition is that the restless mind, which is constantly assailed by instinctual drive, feelings, images, ideas, plans, opinions, is great obstacle to attain the inner freedom. So first step to bring down our mind into the calmness, we always try to hang in or with different things. So we always try to give some ideas, we always try to think something. Unfortunately, it is very difficult task to keep our mind empty. We cannot do that. And in Buddhist spiritual practice, the emptiness is the highest goal of spiritual practice. Shunya, that is the highest goal of spiritual practice according to Buddhism. But some of the Indian philosophical schools, they believe that you cannot empty your mind in any way. So even the highest spiritual experience will come to you through knowledge. And when it is through knowledge, that is also kind of experience. So that is also come through vrittis. So it is impossible to make your mind devoid of any vrittis. Vrittis must be there. So this is some philosophical school. But we can reduce that, we can direct that into a good kind of vritti. So the feelings, images, ideas, plans, opinions is the great obstacle. So one of the first steps of achieving inner freedom is to establish order in life, integration and stability in mind. The goal orientation in Bhagavad Gita, it is always said one-pointedness. So when we elevate in our mind, we will become one-pointed, focused. And in our ordinary worldly life, these one-pointed persons, they are successful in ordinary life. If they are focused, they are successful in ordinary life, in education, in every strata of their life. So, this one-pointedness and clear-cut philosophy of life, and definitely the awakening ego. Ego is another important factor in our life. So, the interaction, the awakening ego is also, means ego encountering. That is also very important point. So, we have to maintain, regulate our inner life very disciplined way, in a regulated way, goal-oriented, and in definite routine. So study scriptures, meditation, japam. So in a definite way, then only our mind will become calmer and calmer and calmer. Unless our mind will become calmer, we cannot have the taste of freedom. So this is the first step to get some kind of taste of freedom in our day-to-day life. Otherwise, we cannot get the ultimate freedom, because there are two types of freedom, The first freedom is the moral freedom, and the second freedom is the spiritual freedom. So moral freedom in a broader perspective. Moral freedom doesn't mean that we will be moral. Moral freedom means one-pointed, focused, disciplined life. Don't hang into anything else in the outside unnecessarily. So that is the organized life, disciplined life, stressless. So all these are the first step. And the second thing is that if it is called Maya, the freedom, why we cannot get the taste of freedom? Obviously, because of Maya. Instead of this direction, we are going that direction. So Maya, the definition of Maya, what they are explaining is the wrong vision. That is things. If you take the example of rope and snake, so when you are seeing the snake instead of rope, that is the wrong vision. So Maya is nothing but the wrong vision. It is not that illusion or something like that. It is a wrong vision. So in two ways we have the wrong vision according to Indian philosophy. The first things according to Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, is that our real self, if you think that Maya is hiding our vision from the real self. So Maya is acting here, according to Advaita Vedanta, as a curtain. So it is like a curtain, so we cannot see our real self. So this is the concept of Advaita Vedanta. So Maya is a kind of curtain, delusion. So Maya is hiding the real sight of our self. Then the Shaivism or Tantra, they have another concept. They say that Maya is acting like some restriction. Maya is controlling our will to do so many things. And that is why by doing this, we are doing this, because this is a restriction. Some kind of restriction this Maya is implementing in our will. That is the concept of Tantra and Shaivism. So what to do? According to Vedanta, how can we remove the curtain of Maya? Because it is wrong vision. So when you will have the right knowledge, the wrong vision will go. The right knowledge means it is not a snake, it is a rope. So when you will have the knowledge of rope, then Maya will go forever. So to remove Maya according to Advaita Vedanta, you need knowledge. But according to Tantra or Shaivism, you need, because they discussed about this kind of Maya a lot. Advaita Vedanta discussed about Maya post-Shankara Advaita, I would say. Post-Shankara Advaita discussed about Maya a lot. And this Shaivism and Tantra, they also discussed about Maya a lot. And according to them, it is a kind of restriction. How can we remove that? By karma. By good karma, we can actually remove this Maya. That is what they said. So these are the two things. But in our day-to-day life, two things are very important to get the taste of freedom. Two things. One is egoism and another is samaskara. These are the two things. You see, the external restriction you can control. You can force yourself. Okay, I shall sit for meditation today, this evening. I must not see the TV today. Whether it is Super Bowl, whether it is the beginning of the World Cup soccer, or it is the midterm election result. I shall not see the TV. I shall sit for meditation today. You can restrict yourself in this way. It is possible. It is possible. It is not impossible. But the impossible thing is this. If you sat for meditation and you are trying, but something would come from your within and your whole meditation spoiled. So that is the samaskaras. Samaskaras sometimes comes in our surface mind in an unknown way. So that is very difficult. And the second thing is egoism. Because we cannot understand our egoism. That's the function of egoism. It is so subtle that we cannot understand the egoism. Egoism, what is egoism? Egoism is the identification of our self, real self, with some kind of desire, instinct, which samaskaras generates. Samaskara generates so many instincts, so many desires, so many things, And our identification, self-identification with those instincts and samaskaras is called egoism. So, these two are very difficult. So, we have to control these two things. How can we control this? So, what is the function of samaskaras? Samaskara is like a seed, It sprouts. some small plantation like that. Those are the desires, instinct, motive, anger. So our reaction towards that, anger, this part is very important. Anger, attachment, hatred, jealousy are the reaction, our reaction towards those sprouting. So whether you will react it or not, what is our anger? See, externally something is happening. Our anger or our hatred, our attachment, our jealousy is our reaction towards that. So, whether you will react it or not, it depends upon you. We can control that. We have to control that. It is nobody's hand. It is in our hand. We cannot control the event. Event is not in our control. There may be any kind of event. But our reaction is in our hand, whether I shall give reaction or not. This reaction is anger, hatred, jealousy, etc., etc. Now, if we give some reaction, we are identified with those sprouts. And that identification is called egoism. So then when we are identified with that one desire, we try to fulfill that. We think that that is me. So this me concept is called egoism. I is called ego. When we internalize that sprout and we consider it me, that is me. This me concept is egoism. When I am identified with that sprout. These two factors are really challenging items to conceptualize real freedom. So if we can, and for this, first, calmness of mind, meditation, orientation of life, spiritual practice will give that calmness of mind, number one. Second, our egoism and samaskaras. So how can we eliminate the egoism? Don't be identified with the sprout, what samaskar is sending you. Don't be identified. If anything come to your mind, today I shall prepare some delicious items. Or today, today is, Thanksgiving is coming, so let us go have a party there. So it came in our conscious mind and we are identified with that. We gave our reaction and we become identified. Okay, I shall go there. We have a party. So you become identified with that thoughts, with that desire. You are separate. Samaskaras send this, and why is this is the egoism, so we can separate this. Now the part of samaskaras. Why samaskaras send this? Because the impression is inside. We did this earlier. That is why it is there. As long as it will be here, it will send signal to you. And you don't have any control over it. For egoism, you have control. You do not be identified. You can restrict yourself. But samaskara, you do not have control. So what you can do to control this kind of samaskaras? Number one, you do not repeat so that bad samskara will accumulate here. That is number one. The second thing is, the samskaras have already accumulated in my unconscious, So how to face those things? How to manage those things? Include good samskaras. And then, by that good samskaras, the bad samskaras will be managed. In this way, if we can practice these things, then we can have some kind of feeling of freedom. What is freedom? And freedom comes along with peace. So then only we can understand what actual peace is. It is not ordinary peace. We cannot actually, in normal life, it is very hard to get the feeling, the experience of peace. The real peace is really, really spiritual. We cannot get the taste of peace in the worldly life. It is very hard. So unless we will get that flash, we cannot get the taste of freedom. And when we cannot get the taste of freedom, the higher freedom to get rid of the birth and death vicious cycle is impossible. And in Upanishads, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, they describe this bondage is like a wheel, like a wheel. In Advaita Vedanta, they said this chakra, the Brahma chakra, they said this, that it is a wheel of Brahma chakra, and human being is said like a hangsha. In Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that human being is like a hamsa, means swan, and they are connected to this big wheel. So what will happen? We have to get rid of that wheel, Brahma Chakra. It is called Brahma Chakra, with the individual self symbolized as swan, tied with every revolving wheel. So according to this view, life itself is a state of bondage. Not only the present life, but also the afterlife. And Bhur Bhuva Swa, the three lokas. So like that. But in Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, they said it is a wheel of 6 spokes. And these spokes are opposite spokes. What is Sukha Dukha? Happiness and suffering. Then Dharma Adharma, righteousness and evil things. And there is Raga and Desha, attachment, repulsion, and hatred, jealousy, anger. So these are opposite, these are the spokes. And the hub is ignorance. How can you break this? Because of ignorance, all these spokes, tied in ignorance. So how can you break the wheel? You cannot break the wheel along the spokes. Only if you can break the hub, the wheel will crash. So hub is ignorance. If you can remove the ignorance, all these sukha dukha, dharma adharma, and raga dvesha will crash down. So that is and how can we do that in practical day-to-day life? Calm down your mind with spiritual practice, and then egoism and samaskar. Tackle your egoism and tackle your samaskaras. Done. Then the preliminary freedom we can achieve. We can get the taste. And then, once we can get the taste, you cannot look back. because we have understood that it is that. We can go ahead. We got the taste, and then we want more and more, that kind of thing. It is so beautiful. Do you have any quick questions? Yes, please.
You spoke of raga and devesha, and when you find raga as attachment, I was always taught that it was likes, dislikes. So raga would be something you really like, and devesha would be aversion to things. So I think I'm understanding that liking something you develop an attachment. Is that?
I think the attachment and detachment both are this raga. Raga and anuraga, these are things. And that is, dvesha is abhinivesha, means desha means hatred, jealousy, anger, you can say in this way.
So it's not easily defined as likes and dislikes. That's what,
Yeah, likes and dislikes is the raga. Raga defines likes and dislikes both. If you don't have raga, that is dislike.
But the devesha is something different.
Yes, desha is definitely different. Hatred, jealousy, these are the dvesha.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Where does fear come in? Is that one of
Yeah, it is very good question. Actually, only Patanjali introduces the fear, but here in this wheel, he did not say anything about fear. I think this, in one breath actually he says, this raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. These are the three things he said, the cause of bondage. So, raga means liking, disliking both. Dvesha means hatred, jealousy, anger. And abhinivesha means this fear. So, I think by taking the name of raga and desha, it is included, abhinivesha is a fear is also there. So, they gave only the two names, but it is already included there, abhinivesha. Fear is another very important aspect of our bondage.
Swami,
Yes.
I have a question regarding the concept of freedom in the terms that when a child has been subjected to wrongdoing, often it's not their fault, nothing that they did, that they deserve to be treated that way, but it leaves marks. And then when they become an adult, then they identify with that and interact with the world, with all these things that we're talking about, anger and all those things. But their bondage is what's created by, let's say, other human beings.
Yeah.
How do you liberate yourself from that?
Yes, that is the point. So when we are born, at that point of time we are in bondage. No doubt about that. So that is why I said there are two types of freedom, corresponding to two types of bondage. One is the bondage, that is what I called spiritual freedom. Spiritual freedom means freedom from the cycle of life and death. That is the complete liberation. And then only we can wipe out the I consciousness, the I ego. But otherwise, the second one is that the egoism, the me ego. We are always with me ego. I ego is good. It is Not bad, because we got it at the moment we are born. From there on, this ego is there. The baby, at the moment it is born, cries. Cries means, I am here. I am here. So please concentrate on me. At that point of time, its ego is attached with it. I, the presence, that I am here. He is, spreading this message that I am here. But the other things are egoism. That is why all this anger, jealousy, hatred comes. So we have to first remove these things, and then finally that ego. So that removing the I ego means the capital I, the capital E ego, means the final liberation. But we are tied up with egoism. So unless we can understand this or remove this, we cannot go there. You are Mr. X, you are Mr. Y is fine. But when you say, I am a rich man, I am an engineer, I am this, that means egoism comes. That is bad. So you are identified with your degree, identified with something else. When you are, yourself is identified with something else, that is egoism. That is bad. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkham Apnuat, Sarvastarotu Durgani, Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu, Sarva Sadbuddhim Apnotu, Sarva Sarvatranandatu, Durjana Sajjano Bhuyat, Sajjana Shantimapnuat, Shantamucchete Bandhebhyo, Muktaschanyan Vimochayet. May all be happy, may all enjoy good health, may all see happy events, may all be freed from miseries, may all be freed from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bondages, may the freed make others free, may the Supreme Spirit, the presiding deity of all sacred activities, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe feels satisfied. Om peace, peace. Peace be unto you.